The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a silver teardrop, its surface reflecting the golden sunlight. Inside the United Nations building in New York, James Parker wiped his sweaty palms on his suit pants for the 100th time. As Earth's chosen diplomat, he carried the weight of humanity's first official contact with alien life on his shoulders. The Galactic Council delegation had arrived 3 days ago, and today would mark their first face-to-face meeting. The aliens had been clear in their messages. They came in peace, seeking to welcome humanity into the greater galactic community. "They're ready for us, Mr. Parker," his assistant Robert said, poking his head through the door. The meeting hall fell silent as 5 alien beings entered. They walked on 2 legs, but that's where their similarity to humans ended. Their blue-tinted skin seemed to shimmer, and their large eyes took in everything with an unsettling intensity. The lead alien, who had introduced itself as High Counselor Mex, stepped forward. "We welcome Earth to the greater community of spacefaring civilizations," Mex said through their translation device. Its voice was smooth and pleasant, but something in those large eyes seemed troubled. As the meeting progressed, Parker noticed odd behaviors from their visitors. They would sometimes pause mid-sentence, staring at humans with what seemed like confusion or concern. When humans made casual references to imagined scenarios or told simple jokes, the aliens appeared deeply unsettled. During the lunch break, Parker overheard 2 alien scientists talking in their own language, their translation devices still active. "The readings must be wrong," one said, their tendrils twitching nervously. "No species should be able to do this." "I've run the brain scans 3 times," the other replied. "Their neural patterns are unlike anything we've ever seen. They can create non-existent scenarios in their minds. It's impossible." Parker pretended not to hear, but his curiosity was piqued. When the meetings resumed, he paid closer attention to the aliens' reactions. Every time a human delegate used phrases like "imagine if" or "what if we tried," the aliens would shift uncomfortably in their seats. The breaking point came during a presentation about Earth's space exploration goals. Dr. Linda Moore, a NASA scientist, was explaining humanity's dreams of colonizing distant planets. "We've already imagined entire cities on Mars," she said enthusiastically. "Our artists and writers have created detailed visions of what life could be like there." The alien delegation's reaction was immediate and shocking. High Counselor Mex stood up abruptly, its skin changing from blue to a pale gray. The other aliens backed away from the presentation screen showing artists' concepts of Mars colonies. "You create these images?" Mex asked, its voice trembling. "These places that do not exist?" "Of course," Dr. Moore replied, confused. "It's how we plan for the future." The aliens huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. Their translation devices picked up fragments. "Dangerous, impossible, reality warping, contained." Parker watched as the alien delegation quickly excused themselves, claiming they needed to consult with their superiors. As they hurried out, he caught a glimpse of genuine fear in their large eyes. Later that evening, alone in his office, Parker stared out at the alien ship still hovering in orbit. Something had gone wrong today, but he couldn't understand what. How could humanity's ability to imagine and create be seen as threatening? Little did he know, this was just the beginning. Humanity's greatest gift, their ability to imagine, to dream, to create something from nothing, would soon be revealed as the most terrifying power in the galaxy. And James Parker would find himself at the center of a conflict that would change the universe forever. The alien ship's lights pulsed in the darkness, like a warning beacon of things to come. The alien research facility on the moon's dark side buzzed with nervous energy. Dr. Anna Wilson stood in the observation room, watching as alien scientists conducted their 3rd round of brain scans on human volunteers. She had been assigned as Earth's representative to understand why the Galactic Council was so interested in human neural patterns. Through the reinforced glass, she saw Mark Thompson, a college teacher, lying in the scanning chamber. The alien device hummed softly as it mapped his brain activity. On the screens above, colorful patterns danced as Mark followed the alien's instructions. "Now," the lead alien researcher named Hicks said through the speaker, "please think about a purple elephant riding a bicycle." Dr. Wilson watched the monitors explode with activity. The alien scientists backed away from their consoles, their skin shifting to that now familiar gray tone of distress. "Impossible," Tix muttered. "He's creating it. Actually creating it in his mind." "Of course he is," Anna said. "That's what imagination is. Don't your people imagine things?" The silence that followed was heavy. Tix turned to her slowly, its large eyes reflecting a mix of fear and fascination. "Dr. Wilson, in our entire galaxy, spanning thousands of civilizations, no species can create non-existent scenarios in their minds. We can process what exists, what has existed, what we have seen. But to create something new, it's not natural." The revelation hit Anna like a physical blow. She stumbled back, her mind racing. "But how do you plan for the future? How do you create new things?" "We analyze patterns. We combine existing elements. We follow logical progressions," another alien scientist added. "But we cannot imagine." Over the next few days, the tests continued. The aliens discovered that even human children could easily create imaginary scenarios, invent stories, and picture things that had never existed. Every single human had this ability that the aliens considered impossible. In her private quarters, Anna reviewed the data. The human brain lit up in unique ways when imagining things, showing neural patterns that the aliens had never seen in any other species. It wasn't just that humans could imagine. They did it constantly, automatically, without even trying. One morning, she found the alien scientists huddled around a historical database. They were reviewing human literature, art, and technological progress with growing alarm. "Look at this," Tix said, pointing to a timeline of human flight. "They imagined flying machines before they could build them. They dreamed of space travel before they had electricity. They can see things that don't exist, and then make them real. That's how innovation works," Anna explained, but she was beginning to understand their fear. The breaking point came during a test with a young writer. The aliens asked him to describe a completely new color, one that didn't exist in the visible spectrum. The writer not only crafted a detailed description, but created an entire world where this color was central to an alien ecosystem. The monitoring equipment overloaded and shut down. Later that day, Anna overheard two alien guards talking outside her lab. "They can reshape reality itself," one said. "They think of something impossible, and then they find ways to make it possible. No wonder the Council is terrified. How do we defend against a species that can imagine new ways to destroy us? Ways we can't even comprehend because we can't imagine them." Anna felt a chill run down her spine. She rushed to her computer and began documenting everything. Humanity's greatest gift, their imagination, was being seen as the greatest threat to galactic stability. The aliens were preparing to leave the moon base. Through her window, Anna watched their ships departing, their lights blinking like worried eyes in the darkness. She knew that soon, very soon, humanity would face a choice: suppress their nature to fit into the galaxy, or face the consequences of being different. Above her, Earth hung in the black sky, unaware that its people's creativity had just marked them as the most dangerous species in known space. The secure conference room in Geneva was packed with Earth's top officials. On the massive screen, Dr. Anna Wilson's report cast an eerie blue glow across worried faces. After 3 weeks of intensive research with the alien scientists, the truth about humanity's unique nature had finally come to light. "Every test confirms it," Anna said, her voice steadied despite her exhaustion. "The aliens are literally incapable of imagination. They can't visualize things that don't exist. They can't create fiction. They can't even daydream." Defense Secretary Mike Foster leaned forward. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" Anna nodded and pulled up brain scan comparisons. Look at these patterns. When we ask a human to imagine something, anything, their brain lights up in ways the aliens have never seen before. Their own brains simply don't have these neural pathways. The room erupted in murmured discussions. James Parker, still serving as Earth's chief diplomat, raised his hand. How do they function? How do they advance their technology? They can analyze, combine, and modify what already exists. Anna explained. They're highly intelligent, but they can only work with what they can see and measure. They can't conceptualize something entirely new. The implications began to sink in. Humanity's ability to imagine, to dream up new possibilities, to create something from nothing. It wasn't just unique. It was alien to them, terrifying to them. General Laura Hayes stood up, her face grim. Yesterday, we detected massive fleet movements at the edge of our solar system. Now we know why. They're afraid of us. The room fell silent as security footage from the alien research facility played on the screen. It showed a human child drawing a picture of a dragon. The alien observers had backed away in horror, their skin changing color rapidly. To them, we're reality benders, Anna continued. Think about it. We can picture things that don't exist, plan for scenarios that haven't happened, and then make those things real. From their perspective, we can reshape reality itself. That's why they're so advanced in some ways but seem limited in others, Parker added. They can only build on what exists. We can dream up entirely new possibilities. Reports began flooding in from Earth's new orbital monitoring stations. Alien ships were gathering, keeping their distance but clearly watching. The Galactic Council had gone silent, no longer responding to Earth's communications. We've detected them scanning our entertainment broadcasts, a communications officer reported. Our movies, books, video games, they're analyzing everything we create. Anna pulled up more data. Their fear is growing. They've discovered that even our children naturally create imaginary friends, fantasy worlds, and impossible scenarios. Something they consider a dangerous reality warping ability is completely normal for us. The implications were staggering. Humanity's greatest gift, their creativity and imagination, had marked them as a potential threat to the entire galaxy. They can't predict what we'll do, General Hayes said quietly, because we can imagine solutions they literally cannot comprehend. As if to confirm their fears, new alerts flashed across the screens. More alien ships were arriving. Earth was being surrounded by a species that saw human imagination as a weapon of mass destruction. James Parker stared at the tactical display, watching the alien fleet positions. We need to act fast, he said. They're afraid of what we might do, what we might create, and fear makes any species dangerous. The room fell silent again as the weight of the situation sank in. Humanity had always seen their imagination as a gift, a tool for progress and creation. Now they realized it was also a power that terrified the galaxy. Outside the conference room windows, storm clouds gathered over Geneva. But the real storm, everyone knew, was brewing in the space above them, where countless alien eyes watched Earth with growing fear of the species that could dream of the impossible. Commander Tom Reed stood at the main viewport of Earth's newest space station, watching the alien ships that surrounded Earth like a net of stars. In the 3 months since the truth about human imagination had emerged, the situation had grown increasingly tense. Sir, his second-in-command reported, we've detected more surveillance devices in orbit. They're watching everything. Tom turned from the viewport, his face reflecting in the holographic display, showing the positions of alien vessels. How many now? Over 3,000 satellites. They're monitoring our broadcasts, our internet, even our children's television shows. The officer paused. They seem particularly disturbed by our entertainment media. An alert flashed across the main screen. Another group of alien ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. Tom watched as they took up positions near Mars, their engines glowing like cold blue eyes in the darkness. Down on Earth, the situation was equally tense. In New York, the Galactic Council's remaining diplomats had called an emergency meeting. James Parker and Dr. Anna Wilson sat across from alien representatives whose fear was now openly visible. "Your species," the lead diplomat said, its translator struggling to convey its distress, "created something called science fiction over a century ago. Many of these imagined technologies now exist. You make the impossible possible." "That's called progress," James replied calmly. "It's how we advance." "No," the alien's skin rippled with colors of alarm. "You don't understand. You imagine weapons, scenarios, and technologies that should not be possible. Then you create them. How can we defend against a species that can think of things we cannot even comprehend?" Back on the space station, Tom received an encrypted transmission from Earth's Defense Command. The message was brief but chilling. Alien ships had been detected testing weapons just beyond Neptune's orbit. "They're preparing for something," Tom muttered, studying the tactical displays. The alien fleet movements formed patterns he'd seen before in human military history. They were setting up containment positions. In her laboratory, Dr. Wilson made another breakthrough. She stared at her research data in disbelief, then immediately called for a secure meeting. "Look at this," she told the assembled military and scientific leaders. "The aliens don't just lack imagination. They're physically incapable of lying. They can't conceive of something that isn't true. They can't even understand how we do it." The implications hit everyone like a physical blow. Humanity's ability to imagine different scenarios, to plan deceptions, to think strategically, it all stemmed from their unique capability to imagine things that weren't real. "That's why they're so terrified," James said slowly. "We can not only imagine new technologies and weapons, but we can also think of strategies they could never conceive of. We're unpredictable to them." On the tactical displays, more alien ships appeared. They were now shutting down regular trade routes to Earth, isolating humanity from the rest of the galaxy. Their message was clear. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed free movement among the stars. Tom ordered his crew to battle stations as another alert sounded. The alien ships were powering up their weapon systems, not firing yet, but ready. "They're afraid we'll imagine some way to destroy them that they can't even comprehend," he said to his bridge crew. "And that fear is pushing them toward a preemptive strike." The space station's sensors detected unusual energy readings from the alien fleet. They were using technology that hadn't been seen before, clearly preparing for what they saw as an inevitable conflict. As Earth's military forces went on high alert, Tom looked out at the stars again. Humanity's greatest gift, their boundless imagination, had become their greatest threat. The galaxy feared what humans could dream up, what they could create, what impossible things they could make real. The alien ship's lights pulsed in the darkness, a net of fearful eyes watching the planet where dreams could reshape reality. The emergency sirens wailed across every major city on Earth. Commander Tom Reed watched from the space station as the last alien diplomatic ships broke orbit, their engines flaring bright against the darkness of space. The final diplomatic ties were breaking. "They're running," his tactical officer said, monitoring the departing vessels. "Like they're afraid we might infect them with our imagination." In Washington, D.C., the Situation Room was chaos. Military leaders gathered around holographic displays showing the alien fleet movements. The enemy ships had formed a complete blockade around the solar system, cutting off all routes to other star systems. Dr. Anna Wilson burst into the room, clutching her tablet. "They've made their decision," she announced, her voice tight with tension. "I just decoded their last transmission to their homeworlds. They're calling us a reality warping plague that needs to be contained." General Hayes studied the tactical display, her face grim. "How many ships?" "Over 10,000 now." Tom's voice came through the comm system. "They're positioning themselves in a formation we've never seen before. But something's wrong. Their movements seem rigid, predictable." James Parker, who had been quietly analyzing the alien communications, suddenly stood up. "That's it. They can't adapt quickly because they can't imagine new scenarios. They're following preset protocols because that's all they can do. The realization spread through the room. The aliens' greatest fear, humanity's ability to imagine and create, was also their own greatest weakness. They couldn't think creatively in battle because they couldn't imagine new possibilities. Suddenly, the alien fleet began moving. Their weapons powered up, energy signatures flaring across Earth's detection grid. But they didn't fire. Instead, they started deploying massive structures in space. "They're building something," Tom reported, his voice tense. "Some kind of containment field around the entire solar system." Dr. Wilson analyzed the data streaming in. "It's a quarantine barrier. They're going to lock us in, cut us off from the rest of the galaxy. They think they can contain our dangerous influence." The alien construction continued at an incredible pace. Massive energy fields began forming between their ships, creating a web of power that would trap humanity in their own solar system. But something unexpected happened. As the alien ships maintained their rigid, predictable patterns, Earth's defense forces began noticing weaknesses in their formation, gaps and blind spots that the aliens, in their inability to imagine different scenarios, couldn't see. "They can only see what's there," James said, excitement growing in his voice. "They can't see what could be. They can't imagine the holes in their own defense." In orbit, Tom Reed made a decision. He ordered a small scout ship to probe one of the gaps in the alien formation. The aliens didn't react. They literally couldn't conceive of someone finding a weakness in their perfect containment system. The tension reached its peak when a massive alien dreadnought approached Earth's orbit. Its message was clear and cold: "Submit to containment or face extinction. Your kind cannot be allowed to spread." In response, humanity did what it did best. They imagined possibilities that the aliens couldn't even conceive of. Military strategists devised plans that seemed impossible. Scientists theorized technologies that broke the aliens' understanding of physics. Earth's defenses hummed to life. In secret facilities around the world, weapons and ships designed using humanity's unique gift of imagination were prepared for launch. The aliens had made their choice. They would try to cage humanity, to contain what they saw as a reality-warping power. But they had made one crucial mistake. They couldn't imagine what humanity would do next. Because they couldn't imagine, they couldn't predict. And because they couldn't predict, they couldn't truly understand the storm they had just unleashed. The breaking point had arrived. The galaxy was about to learn why imagination was such a powerful weapon. The moment of truth arrived with stunning swiftness. As the alien blockade tightened its grip around Earth's solar system, humanity revealed its hand. From hidden bases on Mars, Europa, and beneath Earth's oceans, ships of impossible design rose into space. Commander Tom Reed stood on the bridge of the Dreamweaver, Earth's first reality-bending warship. Its design had come from the combined imagination of hundreds of human engineers, creating technology that the aliens couldn't comprehend because they couldn't even imagine it. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "The aliens, they're not responding. They literally can't process what they're seeing." The human fleet moved in ways that defied conventional space combat. Ships phased through space, using principles that only human imagination could have conceived. The alien fleet's rigid, predictable formations were suddenly faced with an enemy that moved like a dream given form. Down in her bunker, Dr. Anna Wilson monitored the alien communications with growing excitement. "They're panicking. Their minds can't create new strategies to counter what we're doing. They can only follow their pre-programmed responses." The alien containment field, which had seemed so impenetrable, now revealed its fatal flaw. It had been designed to stop every kind of attack that the aliens could think of. But they couldn't imagine what they couldn't conceive. "Break their line here," Tom ordered, pointing to a spot that seemed solid but wasn't. "They can't see the weakness because they can't imagine it exists." The human fleet struck with technologies born of dreams. Weapons that worked on principles the aliens had never considered possible cut through their defenses. Ships moved in patterns that only a species capable of abstract thought could devise. James Parker, watching from Earth's command center, saw the alien fleet's formation beginning to crumble. "They're trapped by their own minds," he said. "Every counterattack they launch, we've already imagined a dozen ways to defeat it." The alien flagship, massive and powerful, turned its weapons toward Earth. But before it could fire, human ships appeared from directions that the alien sensors couldn't detect because they couldn't imagine sensors needed to look there. Their biggest weakness, Tom broadcast to the fleet, is that they can only fight the way they know how. We can fight in ways that haven't been invented yet. The battle reached its climax when the human fleet deployed its master stroke, a weapon that existed in multiple possible states simultaneously, something the aliens couldn't even perceive because they couldn't imagine something being more than one thing at once. The alien fleet's rigid formation shattered. Ships began retreating in confusion, their commanders unable to comprehend, let alone counter, what they were facing. Their worst fears had come true. Humanity wasn't just using imagination as a tool, they had turned it into a force that could reshape reality itself. "They're running," the tactical officer reported, watching as alien ships fled in all directions. "Their entire battle strategy depended on us fighting the way they expected. They never imagined we could fight like this." In the aftermath, as the dust settled in space, humanity's message to the galaxy became clear. They were not a threat to be contained, but a force that had to be understood. Their imagination wasn't a weapon. It was a gift that could reshape the universe itself. Tom Reed stood at his viewport, watching the stars. The alien fleet that had seemed so overwhelming was now in retreat, undone by their own inability to imagine new possibilities. "Send a message to all ships," he ordered. "Humanity stands ready to share our gift with the galaxy, but we will never allow ourselves to be caged." The human fleet hung in space, their impossible designs gleaming in the starlight. They had proven that imagination wasn't just about creating stories or art. It was about seeing possibilities where others saw only walls, about dreaming of what could be instead of accepting what was. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after the battle that changed the galaxy, Earth's delegation stood before the Galactic Council. The massive chamber, filled with representatives from thousands of worlds, fell silent as James Parker took the podium. Above him, the holographic displays showed scenes from the recent conflict. Human ships doing the impossible, weapons that defied conventional physics, strategies that rewrote the rules of space warfare. "We come not as conquerors," James began, "but as teachers." Dr. Anna Wilson stood beside him, her research displayed on screens throughout the chamber. The data showed something remarkable. Some younger aliens, after prolonged contact with humans, were showing the first tiny sparks of imagination. "Your fear of our ability to imagine was understandable," James continued. "But imagination isn't a weapon. It's a bridge to possibilities you never knew existed." The alien counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The memory of their defeat was still fresh, but so was their growing curiosity about this strange human power. Commander Tom Reed, now Admiral of Earth's reality-bending fleet, stepped forward. "We've proven we can't be contained. Now let us prove we can be your greatest allies." In the months that followed, humanity began sharing their gift. Special teaching centers were established throughout the galaxy. Young aliens worked alongside human mentors, learning to take their first tentative steps into the world of imagination. "Watch this," Dr. Wilson said to James, showing him brain scans of an alien child who had just created their first original drawing. The neural patterns showed tiny flickers of activity in previously dormant areas, the first signs of imagination awakening. The galaxy was transforming. Alien civilizations that had been locked into rigid patterns for millennia began to see new possibilities. Trade routes were redesigned in ways no one had considered before. Technologies evolved along paths that would have been impossible without human creativity. Their learning, Tom observed from his new office on the Galactic Council space station. Slowly, but they're learning. Yesterday, an alien engineer actually suggested a new way to design a ship's engine. His colleagues were shocked, but excited. The fear of humanity's gift was being replaced by something new: hope. Species that had been stagnant for thousands of years began to grow again. Art appeared in cultures that had never known creativity. Children of various species began to play imaginary games for the first time in their history. But humanity's power still inspired awe. In the Great Hall of Records, the story of Earth became legend, the world where dreams could reshape reality, where the impossible became possible through the power of imagination. James stood at a viewport, watching ships of both human and alien design move through space. Some of the alien vessels now showed touches of creativity in their construction, small changes that would have been impossible before. "We've given them something precious," Dr. Wilson said, joining him at the window. "Not just imagination itself, but the understanding that reality isn't fixed, that it can be reshaped by those who dare to dream." The Galactic Council had been reorganized. Humanity now held a permanent seat, not through force, but because they had become teachers and guides to a galaxy learning to imagine for the first time. Admiral Reed's fleet still patrolled the stars, but their ships had become symbols of protection rather than fear. They represented humanity's promise to defend not just Earth, but the galaxy's newfound ability to dream. As the sun set on another day in the new galaxy, James Parker wrote in his journal, "We thought our imagination made us dangerous. Instead, it made us essential. The galaxy feared us because we could dream. Now they cherish us because we've taught them how to dream too." In the darkness of space, countless worlds looked up at the stars with new eyes. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, they weren't just seeing what was there, they were imagining what could be. The dark secret that had terrified the galaxy had become its greatest gift.